It is 11 o'clock. Welcome back in. It is hour number 2 of Three Man Front. Conrad, Molly, Landrum, I'm Pat with you until 2 o'clock. We'll hear from Hugh Freeze coming up at the bottom of the hour. The big story we've been talking a good bit about, Jam Miller out for an extended period of time. And Conrad, our Three Man Front Twitter poll question of the day had to do with the Alabama fandom's concern moving forward without Jam Miller.
That is absolutely correct, Pat, and you can go vote as we put these up each and every day on our Twitter at the number 3 Man Front. And today's question, Alabama will be without senior running back Jam Miller for their season opener against Florida State due to an upper body injury. His return date is yet to be known. So what is your level of concern during his absence? And we gave you 4 options. You're not concerned at all. The team's going to be just fine. Mild amount of concern. Running back depth will take a hit. Moderate amount of concern, the offense may struggle as a result of his absence, or major concern, your outlook for the entire season has now changed. And unsurprisingly, winning is right now 54% of the vote is mild concern. A lot of you, the majority of you thinking that the running back depth will take a hit, but it won't be a major problem for Alabama. No concern comes in next at 23%, moderate concern at 15%, and then only 8% of you think this has significant impact on the outlook of the whole season.
So how did you vote? Mild?
Mild, yes.
Well, we know you have talent there. Does it limit your playbook and what you're able to call if these other guys don't know the scheme? That would be a big effect. Do these other running backs behind Jam Miller not know how to block? Yeah, that would be an issue, right?
See, to me, that's the biggest thing.
That's the big thing.
It's pass protection.
But aside from that, we know all of these guys are talented. I don't look at the running back position because of the advent of offenses these days in college football as being as detrimental losing a guy like that as I used to. Now, it's different if you're Army or Navy or another team that's going to rely on a guy running it 40 times a game.
That's also why I think maybe a guy like a Dre Washington, who I brought up earlier, but the kid that transferred in from Louisiana has a lot of experience. Maybe that's not a guy that you see getting 15 touches a game, but from a aspect of he knows what it takes to be a running back in college football and how to block and do the little things right. Maybe that's a guy that has a role carved out for him because, like Pat said, I think pass protection is going to be the biggest concern there. But I also think there's optimism right now, or the hope is that Jam Miller is back for the Georgia game, which would be 5 weeks of rest from the injury on Saturday. Now, if he misses the Georgia game and it looks like it's going to expand past that, maybe then that's when more of the concern starts to set in when you get into SEC play for Alabama fans.
Now, what was the stat you gave this morning on the Damian Mitchell show with special guest Conrad Van Order?
Yes.
What was the stat you gave? That was a really good one in regards to the missing production at the rushing yards for Alabama.
Yeah, so last year, Alabama totaled 2,260 rushing yards on 479 carries. And last year, Jalen Milroe, Jam Miller, and Justice Haynes, who are all gone or injured in Jam Miller's case, combined for 1,842 of those yards on 392 carries, which comes out to 82% of all the rushing yards and carries from last year's offense. That will now be gone for what we expect at least the first 3 games of this season.
Those are the kind of inside numbers, Pat, you get with Damian at dawn.
Yes. Love the show.
Do you join?
Well, Conrad wasn't there Friday.
Once or twice a week?
Yeah, once or twice a week. Yeah, I wasn't there Friday. Pat had to fill in for me.
Love the pictures that you sent, though. They look really, really nice.
Oh, you got that?
Yeah. Were you guys able to relax?
Yeah, no, it was a good time. So we had got some time on the beach, we spent a lot of time. They have a golf simulator down there that my dad's a member of, and it was like 110 was the feels like on Saturday, and we spent about 4.5 hours in the golf simulator. That was nice.
Bougie golf.
That was nice.
Well, obviously Las Vegas is extremely concerned over Jam Miller's absence for the Alabama Crimson Tide as they go on the road to Doak Campbell Stadium. I am sitting here looking at a live line as we speak. Alabama is currently a 13.5-point favorite over Florida State. That was tongue-in-cheek, obviously.
Well, and this is what I told Pat this morning, and if you disagree as an Alabama fan, let us know. If you lose to Florida State because of Jam Miller, or you want to think it's because of Jam Miller, there's a lot of bigger issues that team's going to have to figure out if you lose to a Florida State team that is going to be much better, I think, but they won 2 games last year. Jam Miller being out is not the reason you lose that football game, in my opinion.
I agree.
It should not be the reason.
So I found out last night that Doak Campbell Stadium is going to have a brand new field Did you read this? Did you know about this?
Oh, that's nice.
They are putting in a field today.
Rolling out the red carpet.
They had the massive stadium renovations there at Doak Campbell, which will make its debut against Bama on August 30th. So less than 2 weeks before Alabama comes to Tallahassee, the university is planning to install an entirely new playing surface. The work is scheduled to begin this morning, with the existing surface being removed and replaced with what they call in the business as a lay-in-play field. Basically, the field is grown off-site somewhere else. And then they basically cut it up, put it on rolls, then they bring it in. You've seen it done for Super Bowls, special games in Europe, soccer pitches. They use it a good bit of time. The cost of this field is $300,000 to $350,000. So people like FSU Dave must have given a lot of money, not only to NIL, but for them to have a brand new sod for Alabama to come in there on August the 30th.
Do we know, are they going with a Tacoma like Arkansas has and I have in my backyard?
I do not have the exact. It's thicker. It is grown and harvested specifically to be played on immediately. I do not know the exact make of the grass. I'm sure FSU Dave will be texting in momentarily, so to let us know what it is. Also been told that unless it's a quarterback, as people are texting me, that you're not going to see much line movement. That was, if you listen to this show, those of you know that I'm a smartass, and I was being tongue-in-cheek when I said Vegas line movement. That was not serious, but some people apparently thought I was being serious.
Yeah, and maybe it goes up a half point or drops half a point, just depending on the wagers as we get closer to game time.
I will just say on social media this weekend, I saw a lot of Florida State yesterday, a lot of Florida State fans that maybe have a little extra pep in their step today, maybe feel a little bit of a certain type of way about that game now.
Why? Because Jam Miller's out?
Yeah, oh yeah. Very confident on social media.
Just because Jam Miller's out?
Correct. Very confident.
Okay.
But hey, you're starting the season at home.
Well,
got a new quarterback coming in.
Apparently, the Florida State fans
out.
haven't put their money where their mouth is because there's been no movement whatsoever on the line.
Well, social media is not real life. We know that.
Well, speaking of Florida State, one of their best quarterbacks of all time, Danny Kanell.
I love Danny.
Oh, Danny's a friend of the program.
Yeah, he's great.
Can't wait for his next visit on the show. So if you paid any attention over the weekend, this is very interesting. So ESPN released their initial FPI rankings back in June. And we have had people on from ESPN, and God love them, they have tried to explain to us the formula for an FPI, and God bless them, they've never been able to really explain to it to a degree where we understand it. I'm just being honest. Do you understand it?
No.
Okay. Conrad, do you understand it? Molly? No? I mean, we've got 4 college graduates in here. We're smarter than the average Bears. But really, honestly, we could not tell you.
I tried at one point to study it and to figure it out, and then it's like a lot of other things that I don't understand how gasoline is made.
Well, and I will tell you, I completely lost faith in the system where a couple years ago, Landrum, and you remember this because you and I were doing this show together. Mississippi State was the 9th ranked team in the FPI.
This was not the 2014 year with Dak Prescott when they were number 1 in the playoff rankings and all that business.
No. And what happened, this was the end of the spring FPI. And then all of a sudden, by the time we got to July, they had fallen back to like 24th. Like they had made some type of adjustment, so to speak. So,
have you ever talked to anybody that understands FPI?
Well, Brad Edwards, who used to be a regular on this show, he worked for ESPN Stats and Information.
Brad understood it for the most part.
Yes.
Is what he would tell us.
Yeah. I mean, because we would ask him the same question almost every year when we got to this point. But anyway, so they kind of snuck in over the weekend. They have updated the FPI. And this is really going to be something that I'm sure Bama Hater really loves. Miami dropped from number 9 to 17. Clemson dropped from 11 to 16. Nothing has happened. 0. Nobody's been injured outside of Clemson's basketball player got arrested over the weekend. But there's been no big story that would manipulate the numbers, in my opinion, for either Miami or Clemson.
Well, anybody with 2 brain cells to put together would have Clemson in the top 10 of any ranking going into this season.
But did their opinion of certain other ACC teams that are on those 2 teams' schedule, did that change?
Maybe.
Where that went into the formula.
Perhaps.
I have no idea. I'm throwing darts here.
FPI hates Stanford. Hates them.
So ESPN system slashed the metrics of the ACC's top 2 contenders. So Miami goes from 9 to 17. Clemson goes from 11 to 16. So according to FPI, Miami's percentage chance to reach the college football playoff dropped from 46.3% to 35.9%. That is almost an 11% drop. Clemson's, meanwhile, dropped about 9%. It went from 47% to 38%. Now, this is the other thing that's got a lot of people talking about it. The Canes and Tigers both, they dropped behind Tennessee, who moved up 2 spots. Now, they officially named Joey Aguilar the quarterback yesterday, but this came out before Aguilar was named. Ole Miss moved up 3 spots. South Carolina moved up 4 spots. LSU was jumped by South Carolina and Ole Miss. Florida moved up 5 spots. Southern Cal moved up 5 spots. And Michigan moved up 2 spots. Must be because they're not postseason banned anymore, I guess. Maybe that's it. So for those 2 programs, Miami and Clemson, to fall for no reason whatsoever, had a lot of people, including Danny Kanell, going to social media. Take a listen to the former Florida State Seminole quarterback.
Oh boy, we got something fishy going on in college football, and the season hasn't even started yet. And it involves ESPN's Football Power Index, the good old FPI, my least favorite metric in all of sports. Shout out to CFB Kings on X for finding this gem after doing a little bit of legwork, checking some numbers, finding some discrepancies. So they discovered that back in June, ESPN's FPI had Clemson ranked 11th and Miami ranked 9th. But all of a sudden, since then, there's been a little tweak quietly that no one's brought up. Miami dropped all the way down to number 17, while Clemson's right there at number 16, despite no major significant news coming out of either program. And coincidentally, look who moved up since June. South Carolina moved up 4 spots, and good old Florida Gators moved up 5 spots. Must be all the good news around DJ Lagway, right? If you've been paying attention, you know that's not the reason. One thing it's talking season. Since media days, the SEC has been talking nonstop about strength of schedule, how their teams are so much tougher than everybody else's. Maybe that's what they plugged into the numbers, which aren't supposed to take in conversations or talking points, but somehow, miraculously, here we are. South Carolina, to start, despite losing a significant portion of their roster, jumps up 4 spots. You know who should be livid? Brett Bielema, who beat this South Carolina team in their bowl game, brings back one of the most returning production of any team in college football, including their quarterback, Luke Altmaier. And guess where they check in? All the way down at number 37. It's absolutely ridiculous. Every Big 12 and ACC fan should be absolutely terrified of what this means, because there's going to be a significant push this season to keep in those teams from the SEC, despite having potentially 3 losses, to put them into the playoff over 10-2 and yes, even 11-1 teams. They are terrified that they'll only get 3 teams in, and once again, for the 3rd year in a row, potentially not having a team compete for the national championship. Something to be aware of. I wonder if ESPN will address this, but my hunch tells me no.
There you go, Danny Kanell, pretty much summarizing what we just were discussing. And all of us were laughing. His line about DJ Lagway was hilarious.
That was gold.
That was great.
Yeah, that was great.
That was
Going back to last year, looking at the FBI preseason rankings, you had Georgia at 1, you had Ohio State 2, Oregon 3, Texas 4, Alabama came in at 5, then Notre Dame, Ole Miss, Penn State, Michigan, and Florida State rounded out the top 10. Other notables, you had Missouri at number 11, Utah at 12. We know how stellar that team was last season. LSU 13, Tennessee 14, Clemson came in at 15. Other notables, Oklahoma was 17 in the preseason FPI last year. Oklahoma State, remember how good that team was Would they win 3 games? They were number 18. You had Miami at 19, Arizona at 21. And the final team in last season's preseason FPI that was put out by ESPN on August the 19th of 2024, the Iowa Hawkeyes, Molly.
Boo.
So it was interesting because we remember where some of those teams finished last
Yeah,
season.
I mean, really the only thing I disagree with Danny on that part is him making it out like this is going to influence the College Football Playoff Committee. The FPI rankings is going to somehow correlate to what or who ultimately gets in the playoff at the end. And maybe it will, right? Maybe we'll be able to look back and go, oh, okay, well, this does seem like the fix is in for the SEC or the Big Ten or whoever it was. But I think a lot of us look at the FPI the same way that Danny Kanell does, where it's a joke and we don't understand it. And it's a metric that's out there. We bring it up and then that's that. We move on.
Interesting times indeed with the FPI. That's a major conversation piece with a lot of people, including what you just heard from Danny Kanell, as Alabama currently, what are they in the FPI, if I'm not mistaken, third?
Third.
Correct.
Yeah. Wow. Ahead of Julian Sayian's Ohio State Buckeyes.
You know what? Looking back, last year Alabama was actually 4th.
In the preseason?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think this is the preseason FPI. I will double check, but yeah, it has them 4th.
Okay. Well, is that old tree leaning a little bit too close to your house? Don't wait for the next storm to make that decision for you. You need to call Golston Tree Service, 205-337-4443. Your trusted local experts in fast, affordable, and professional tree removal, trimming, and cleanup. Licensed and insured and ready to handle any job, big or small. Call Golston Tree Service today, 205-337-4443. Golston also offers that 24-hour emergency tree service. When it comes to your trees, don't risk it. Call Golston Tree Service, 205-337-4443. More three-man front. We'll get to your text, your calls. Hugh Freeze at the bottom of the hour. This is Jocks. We'll go down to Auburn, Alabama, coming up at the bottom of the hour. We'll hear from Hugh Freeze as he meets with the media. News out of Auburn this morning, they have announced that during the Georgia game in October at Jordan-Hare Stadium, they will retire the number 2 of Cam Newton. He will become the 4th Auburn player to have his number retired. So nobody will ever wear the number 2 again at Auburn, which had not been distributed to our knowledge over the course since he left Auburn. So it will become official in October.
Yeah, from number 2 to number 1. Number 1 on my list, if you want quick, efficient, effective, you're going to get results fitness. You can find it at Mandu in downtown Homewood. Mandu is electrical muscle stimulation fitness, a lot of science involved. It's all FDA approved. When you go into your first visit, is absolutely free. They'll put you through the workout, put you in a suit. Electric pulses go to various parts of your body, whether it's shoulders, arms, chest, legs, glutes. You can work it all. You want to go total body, they can do that too. Varied programs for the people that have been in the gym just trying to fine-tune some things, and the people who have not stepped foot in a gym maybe ever. All ability levels, all ages. It's Mandu in downtown Homewood. The best part about it, because of the technology, a 15-minute workout, and that's all it is. 15 minutes of your time is the equivalent to 6 hours in a gym. Check it out, Mandu in downtown Homewood. MANDUU.com. Tell Paul on the gang that Landrum from Jocks sent you.
So we're just talking about the FPI, ESPN's projections in regards to the top 25. Well, a couple other little preseason prognostications to pass along. Let's talk about Joel Klatt from Fox Television. He has released his college football playoff bracket and prediction. He has got Alabama making the college football playoff as a 9 seed. They would play Kansas State, who comes in as an 8 seed. So that game would be in Manhattan, Kansas. So Bama going to Manhattan.
We've seen that one recently.
To play the Power Cats. The winner of that game would get the number 1 seed, the Penn State Nittany Lions. How about that? Georgia would make it. They would be a 5 seed. They would host Boise. The winner of that game would play the 4th seed Ohio State Buckeyes. On the other side of the bracket, you would have number 11 Michigan. So Joel Klatt's got Michigan going to the college football playoff. They would go to Oregon in the first round. Meanwhile, the LSU Bengal Tigers will make the playoffs, according to Joel Klatt, and they will go to South Bend, Indiana. Wouldn't that be something? Brian Kelly makes the playoff, and he's got to go back.
That would be awesome.
Go back to Notre Dame and play that game. The winner of that game would play number 2 Texas. The winner of Michigan and Oregon would play Clemson. So if you're keeping score at home, he's got 4 SEC teams in the college football playoff, with Texas being the only one that would have a bye. Georgia would host Boise, Bama on the road against Kansas State, LSU on the road against Notre Dame.
Oregon, and you said Oregon would host Michigan in that scenario?
Correct. And the winner would play Clemson.
Don't you go with that all duck yellow if you're playing them?
Yes, absolutely.
And the final preseason top 25 that we may mention as we get ready for kickoff on Saturday, the most important one, the Pro Football Focus top 25 just came out.
I feel like we need
a drum roll
or music, just something playing up. This is the one that we wait for, people.
I mean, forget about the Associated Press top 25. Forget about the coaches poll top 25.
That's why we go through the exercises of so many preseason polls. It leads up to
Pro
Football Focus.
Well, some folks in our audience, they will, I think, applaud this top 25.
Some will hate it.
Pro Football Focus has been very high on certain position groups for both Alabama and Auburn.
Yep.
So, Conrad busting out his snare drum. That's it? That's all you got?
Apparently.
Okay.
I really didn't know what I was going to get with that.
A little anticlimactic, but okay. Coming in at number 25, the Auburn Tigers.
Hey, Hugh, you're on the clock.
So this is the first top 25 poll that I've seen that Auburn is preseason top 25.
All right.
Right?
There you go.
Am I correct there?
That sounds right, yeah.
Okay. They're at 25, Michigan 24, Ole Miss 23, Tennessee 22. There's the Power Cats from Manhattan.
Lane can take a shot at Hugh today.
At 21. Utah at 20, SMU 19, Louisville 18, Texas Tech 17, Arizona State 16. You got South Carolina, then Illinois, Texas A&M, Indiana, Miami. Now we get into the top 10. Florida, LSU, Georgia at 8, Oregon at 7, Notre Dame at 6. Here we go, folks. We're now to the top 5. I haven't mentioned Alabama yet, have I?
No.
Okay.
You hadn't mentioned Penn State either.
Or Nebraska. I'm just kidding.
Sorry, Molly. Nebraska did not make the Pro Football Focus top 25.
I'm kidding.
Coming in at number 10, Julian Sayin and his Ohio State Buckeyes at number 5.
Okay, so they're at 5.
Okay.
At 4, Kalen DeBoer's Alabama Crimson Tide. 3, Penn State. So we've got 2 obvious teams that's left available for 1 and 2. Who do you think they got?
Well, Texas is going to be 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's Georgia, right? That's the only one that's
No,
left.
Georgia's already
Eight.
been listed. They're 8.
Georgia's 8.
Did you say Clemson?
Then it's Clemson.
I have not mentioned the school from Austin or the team from Clemson, South Carolina. According to Pro Football Focus, the Texas Longhorns is number 2.
Oh!
And the Clemson Tigers are the preseason number 1 team in America, according to Pro Football Focus.
If I'm Dabo, I'm hanging up the FPI ranking, not that one, in the locker in the weight room.
So which is it? Is the FPI saying they're, 16? Or the Pro Football Focus that says you're number 1? Time will tell.
I would lean closer to 1 than I would 16.
Yes, I agree. When we come back, we'll go to Auburn, Alabama. Hope to catch up and hear from Hugh Freeze, the football coach at the Auburn University. That's next on 3-Man Front. It is 11:31. Let's go to Auburn, Alabama. Let's hear from Coach Hugh Freeze as he addresses the media on this Monday.
Being a good. We're affecting the quarterback, at least in against us. We are, but we got to cage him once he's out of there, or that can create explosive plays. I think both Jackson, Deuce, and Ashton, all 3 are really good at keeping their eyes up when those things happen, and created some explosive plays that really, you would hope are not explosive plays. So. We had a period on that today where it was just a team pass and hadn't got to watch it yet. But we were kind of this is a weird kind of week because we're simulating next week, which today's a Tuesday, and we have class at 11 o'clock on Monday, so it was tight, and so I hadn't had a chance to watch the film. But I thought defensively in the scrimmage they did really well, tackled well again, guarded well. Just gave up a few too many explosive plays, and offensively, good thing, zero turnovers, which was nice. We had some really solid, good, dirty runs that keep us ahead of the chains. Through the RPO game well, but the drop back game still needs some improving for sure. But definitely thought we took a step forward in those areas.
What do you look for now, offensive line-wise, especially as you start to settle in and
instead of staying in his gap, I think he was a little aggressive getting over the top to the double team, which makes it really hard for it to hit front side. But if it does roll backside, there's a problem. But boy, their effort and passion that they play the game with is. I couldn't be more pleased. But those six guys kind of rotate in and out, no matter what group we're in.
Hugh, when you look at Jackson Arnold and his ability to run the football, obviously you can't really do that. I mean, you don't want him to get hit. You're blowing the whistle early. How do you sort of, I guess, evaluate the impact he probably will have on Saturdays, but he hasn't been able to show it during fall camp?
Yeah.
You don't want to hit him.
I asked Cam Newton that the other day because I don't know. It's our offensive staff's very, they're frustrated when you're in a scrimmage and you don't feel like you're getting maybe the yards that you would have gotten because the whistle's just getting blown and somebody gets near him in the pocket, it gets blown, and then you watch the film, you're like, I'm pretty confident he got out of this one. Now, I don't know what would have happened afterwards. I would love to see. I don't know how you do that really until it's real. We've seen enough tape to know he has that ability, and you see it out there. I mean, we called a few today, and you're still blowing it pretty quick, but I have to see the film, but it looked like I think you're clicking off 5, 6, 7 yards there, and not just him, Ashton also, and Deuce. So that's a really good question, and one I haven't found the answer to exactly how to accurately evaluate that until it gets real.
Hugh, you were saying the offense made some explosive plays in the scrimmage on Friday. Some of the backs and receivers who made those plays, can you tell us anything about those?
Omar had a big explosive catch for a touchdown, which was nice to see. Damari had 2 explosive runs, had a really tough, hard-nosed run that scored a touchdown. Cam had a explosive long pass, as did Horatio. That's the ones that jump out. But Omar and then Cobb had 2 really explosive runs today. So we got to get more consistent. But really, we've improved from week 1 to week 2 in run game, RPO game. I think it's more of the pocket passing right now that I'm a little unsure of. It's kind of like we were just talking about with the quarterback runs. This I hope is I've always felt like this in fall camp. I think it's hopefully harder on the offense than it will be later in games. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. I'm excited about the athleticism of our defense, and we've got to improve even. But they also, since February, have been going against each other and know, this is a pass, and I'm fisting to get after it. And that puts you at kind of a disadvantage. And hopefully that won't always be the case when you're playing an opponent. But I think there's definitely been signs of improvement that get me excited about us. but still feel like that pocket is getting collapsed a little too quick.
You mentioned it just then with the pocket, but where do you want to see those guys most improve, I guess, in that area the next 2 weeks? And then how ready would you say Deuce is, from watching him in camp?
He's getting better. I think, as far as sitting in there and making a throw, he's ready. He can do that. There's still things, setting protections is new. And that's kind of an issue that he still has growth to do in it. Maybe recognizing a little. Our defense is doing a really nice job of disguising things, and all of them are missing some of that. It's even hard for us as coaches when you're watching film to see it. They're doing a really nice job. So I think he's just got to improve in the mental side of it. Physically, he can make all the throws right now. So I wouldn't hesitate to throw him in a game. Hopefully we'll start tomorrow, trying to really get these. We haven't studied. We got the base down plan in, but we don't have, hey, all right, how are we setting these protections? And so we'll start working that tomorrow, and hopefully all of them will feel better about, that aspect of it by mid next week.
Dan Peck, ESPN 106.7. Coach, you mentioned Jeremiah and Omar. What can you say about the picture at running back, and sort of what are the factors that will ultimately decide who's out there?
DeMar is the most complete right now, along with Cobb, most experienced, understanding of who we are, what we do, what they're supposed to do in the RPO game if it's not given to them. And I am excited about, Omar also and Darrell. Alvin is going to be fine. He's been dinged up and hadn't been able to get many reps the last 4 or 5 practices. So hard to say much about that. But I think Damari and Cobb and Omar and Darrell are all getting better, every practice.
We've seen Jeremiah the last couple of years kind of be involved a little bit. How much has he progressed as a complete runner, and what have you seen him maybe improve the most at?
Well, we'll see. I think he's going to have a breakout year. Y'all know we went through 3 or 4 days last week where all of our slot guys were down. So we threw him back out there like we did last year some, and he's got a good football IQ and has that capacity for us to be able to use him in a lot of different ways, whether in the pass game or now he's struggling a little in the pass game right now because he still has that brace on the thumb, and catching is not real natural. But I think he gets out of that first of next week. So he's very versatile, and we can use him in a lot of ways, and I do expect him to have kind of a breakout year. He's probably got the best burst in the open field of any that we have.
Hugh, I know you talked a little bit about Deuce, but just wanted to ask you about kind of the picture at quarterback behind Jackson. Just how are things going as far as deciding a quarterback too, and how have Deuce and Ashton looked in that regard?
Pleased with both. Think that there's a place for both, depending on the scenario in the game. Without giving away too much, I think there's a place for both of those guys that you could play to their strengths, and we won't be afraid to do that.
You mentioned now, starting this week and into next week, that you're on that Friday schedule in preparation for Baylor. But in terms of the Bears themselves, have you guys started on prep for that? How has that looked like, and when will all that really get ramped up?
Yeah, we started back in June, trying to get a head start on our first couple games so that we feel like we're in a decent spot. So yesterday was. And Saturday was a good day to kind of refresh ourselves on, all right, what do we feel good about in base downs, and, who really are they? Give me the overview again. And so, yeah, we're mixing it in. We're still going good on good, so it's not like we haven't broken up and gone, scout teams yet. Today we did one period of offense defensive choice where we tell them what we want, and they make it look as close as they can, and then they do the same for 10 plays. So, but I think right now keeping the speed of the game up is important, and the physicality of it. And so we serviced each other, and we'll do that again tomorrow, and then we'll start kind of really, all right, let's get us now a true scout period, a day headed into the weekend.
Hugh, you talked throughout the summer at the beginning of camp. You want a handful of defensive tackles to be able to play 10, 15 snaps and buy into that.
Yep.
Throughout camp, how have you seen those guys buy into it, and just how do you feel about the depth and the rotation you guys got there right now?
I'll have to keep preaching it because I know kids, and I know that they read and they listen, and just, man, I'm hopeful. And DJ and his staff have done a really nice job to this point of, man, getting those guys to buy into their strength in numbers. And I've never had an NFL scout, not one, ever asked me how many snaps somebody played. It's about what you do with the ones you have. And to this point, man, they hadn't seemed to affect any of them. And again, they treat those just like they do the linebackers. I have no idea which two are coming out in the first team period, and it's just a constant rotation, of those guys inside. And I'm hopeful and that we can continue to capture them with that mindset of, man, I don't know how many I'm getting, but I'm going to, the ones I do get, I'm going to do with high motor, great execution, and assignment is correct.
Coach, what are you looking for out of the tight end position this year? You went out and got Preston. Brendan Fraser's healthy. Just your assessment of that group?
Yeah, I think we still have a ways to go in some areas. I think Preston's doing a remarkable job in the pass game. He knows how to work the top end of routes. He's got really good hands. B. Frazier does too. I think in the run game, we've got to be more physical. Our pad level has to get better. And Tate is helping us some with that. But also you're a bit limited, when that's the case. It's not like we're going to ask Tate to run a 13-yard dig and win on somebody. And I think people will know that. Nothing against Tate, but that's really not his skill set. And so I do think we've got to continue to improve our physicality there and deciding, how do we best manipulate that and play calls to give them the best leverage, the best angles, the best opportunity to be successful.
You mentioned preparing for Baylor. Early season prep is always tough, but how much tougher is it now in this transfer world where maybe you don't know as much personnel? Do you have to lean more on coaches and past than you do maybe in years past? Yeah,
that was the question I asked yesterday, is just kind of give me the intel on their additions. They have a lot of returning, and they finished their season really strong, and most have them picked to do well in their conference, if not play for the championship in it. So, plus the additions. And so we've done our research on what the additions are. You're not quite sure exactly how they fit into their depth chart right now with the number of returners that they have, but I'm certain it added value to them in some ways. So, but really, we're not going to change a whole lot offensively from what we've done in the past, and I doubt Dave's going to change a whole lot of what it's been really good to him, and he knows what he's doing on the defensive side, and their OC's been around a long time, and he may have a wrinkle here or a wrinkle there, but most of us are going to do what we do, and then we'll have to figure out if you get in the game and you're like, oh gosh, these two guys here, they're war daddies and we're having a problem, then you've got to make adjustments. But I don't know that you start doing that right now until you kind of plan for who you think they are schematically.
That is Hugh Freeze down at Auburn. We will continue to listen in, see if he has any other headlines. Very interesting comments about the quarterback situation. We'll break that down for you next. This is Three-Man Front on Jocks. We got to hear about 15 minutes of Hugh Freeze on this Monday. Talked a little bit about Omar Mapson. Had a very good run during the scrimmage on Friday. He also mentioned the fact that there's a place for both Ashton Daniels and Deuce Knight to be used, depending on the scenarios. He said that quarterback Deuce Knight has made steady progress during the preseason. He's making all the throws right now. I wouldn't hesitate to throw him in the game.
Yeah, that makes Auburn fans sigh, I think, with there's situationally areas for Ashton Daniels and Deuce Knight. Something that he has continued to harp on is the drop-back passing game and the pocket passing and what that looks like. And he alluded to the fact that maybe it's the Auburn DBs knowing when they're going to pass, but he said that has been a struggle, and hopefully when the other team doesn't know exactly what you're going to be doing, that makes it easier for the Auburn offense, but not really sure what to make of that yet.
He also is hopeful that Auburn's strength in numbers approach will work on the defensive front. And it helps out when you got a guy like Keldrick Falk.
It does.
That helps out a lot.
And based on reports, some of the younger guys that are able to hold their own and they made significant gains in the weight room and also with just their bodies, you would hope so. But Keldrick Falk's the guy we knew was the interior of that defensive line. And who were going to be those guys? Do you have disruptors? And it sounds like, while youthful, they do have some guys that DJ Durkin feels like they can win with, Conrad.
Yeah, I think you got to be happy if you're an Auburn fan knowing that going into fall camp, right, the two bigger question marks, or probably the biggest, were defensive line and linebacker, right? And what were those two groups going to look like? And everything that we've heard, defense clearly has had their way with the offense a good number of times in fall camp. But like you said, a lot of those young guys, just their athleticism kind of jumping off the field there for a lot of the people that have gotten to watch it. So that's a good sign. When your biggest question mark maybe turns into one of the groups you feel better about coming out of fall camp, that's always a positive.
Auburn currently a 2-point favorite. That thing has vacillated back and forth. It opened up. Auburn as about a 2.5-point favorite. Then it got down to a pick 'em. Baylor for a very short time, they were about a 0.5-point, 1-point favorite. Now it's swung back to the other side. Auburn a 2-point favorite, minus 135 on the money line. The over-under for that game is 58. Does that mean you like the under?
No, I think I like the over in this game.
I was about to say, I think Hugh Freeze is going to want to score some points. And Baylor's offense is pretty solid.
So you would take the over as well?
Yeah, I would go. Yeah, I would take the over, and I am still with a lean towards Auburn in that game. I think Auburn will get it done.
Looking at some other point spreads for the first weekend, this weekend, it's so nice to say, week 0 games. Kansas State is a field goal favorite in Dublin against Iowa State. Kansas opening up their brand new stadium, a 12.5-point favorite against Fresno. You've got Western Kentucky at home hosting Sam Houston State. They are a 10-point favorite. And the final game of the night, that's a 6:30 kickoff in the Hawaiian Islands as the Hawaii Fighting Rainbows, 2-point favorite over Stanford.
It's so wild seeing that game and it not kicking off at 11 p.m.
I know, right? And they did get some good news last week in Honolulu as it was announced that they have worked out a deal where they're going to build about a 35,000-seat stadium. They're tearing down the old Aloha Stadium, the stadium that Landrum and I grew up watching. That's where the NFL Pro Bowl was always held.
That's where Hawaii's still playing games late at night.
Yep.
When you didn't have a bunch of games to choose from, that was the only game you watched Hawaii football.
And also, I don't know if you knew this, but back in the day, Honolulu, they had the AAA franchise, I believe, for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Oh, well, that would have been the best part of being in that organization then.
Well, this was back.
Not if you needed the guy
when they were actually good.
Not if you needed the guy the next day.
But what's so odd is a AAA team that is 5 time zones over from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, if you need to call up somebody, you know?
By the way, I was looking at trends. Auburn playing on a Friday night Says here the last time that they played on a Friday was against Alabama in the 2010 Iron Bowl.
Well, that one worked out for them, didn't it?
If you've got another time that Auburn has played on a Friday since then, text the show, 205-834-9450. There on the Jocks text line. We continue college football filled because it's game week. 3-man front and Jocks.